The two questions I've been asked most often over the last few months are, first, how are your eyes? So thank you. Thank you for your prayers in that regard. Thank you for your thoughtful and gracious concern. It's meant the world to me. The answer is not as simple or as straightforward as I certainly would have liked it to be by now. My eyes are not where we need them to be. But they're healing. We're on our way. Perhaps that's a metaphor for all of us in life in general, right? And that's a story of life. We're not where we need to be, but we're healing. We're on our way. Second question I've been asked a lot over the last couple months is, where have you been? And that's fair, because I haven't been here with you a lot. I took some time. I sat down with Sister Marla last spring and said, you know what? I've been doing this for over 16 years, and there were 5 years of formation before that, and I just need to take a step back and spend some time inside. I needed to take care of some health issues with my eyes and other things, and just sort of let the ground rise up to meet my feet again a little bit. So she was so gracious in giving me a few months off, and I really appreciate that. Then, of course, she welcomes me back by scheduling me for this weekend with what might be the harshest gospel of all. The time away, the last few months, I used to finish writing a book on Eucharist that will be available. It'll be coming out in October. I finished writing the Advent reflection book for this coming season, which is now available. But mostly I just needed to get inside. And in that process, I came to the realization that you really don't have to scroll very far down that top 10 list of commandments to find the one that I violate most often. I mean, it's right there, right at top. Number 1, I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods but me. And I had to come to terms with the realization that at various times in my life, I have made other things into a god. I mean, whatever we're spending our life's energy on, whatever we're spending our time, our focus, our emotions on, really is our God. Regardless of what we say or how we pray or anything else, regardless of the creed we profess, in the daily action of life, as we go about from day to day, live our life, wherever we're putting most of our heart, our energy, our emotion, that actually is what we're turning into God. That's our God. So I had to wrestle with this reality that at various times during my life, I've chosen to make anxiety, stress, self-confidence, all sorts of other things into a god. They became the most important thing. Even when I would pray, I go to bed at night, I spend a half an hour in really good, meaningful, connecting prayer, and I'd fall right to sleep. And then 2 hours later, I'd wake up and spend the next several hours tossing and turning with worry and anxiety and stress. And in that scenario, what really is my God? Where am I putting my faith? I was putting my faith in whatever I was worried about, not in the love of God. And I think that's really the message that Jesus is calling us to in this gospel. Now, he starts out harsh, right? I mean, he starts out saying, if you don't hate your mother and father and your son and your daughter and your wife and your even your own life, you can't be my disciple. And that seems really out of left field for a guy who says, here's my commandment, love one another. The greatest commandment, love God, love neighbor. And he brings this around. So it helps if we understand his communication style a bit. Jesus uses a lot of literary devices in his communication. We see it throughout his teaching. He uses a lot of allegory, a lot of analogy, and he uses a lot of hyperbole. He exaggerates for the sake of effect. It's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get to heaven. It's hyperbole. And he does that again and again. And he's doing it in the gospel this morning. He's saying, look, if there's anything in your life, anything or anyone that's more important to you, that gets more of your time, more of your attention, more of your emotion, more of your energy than God's love, then you're not there yet. You're not quite ready to be my disciple. Not yet. Just like my eyes. You're not where you need to be, but you're healing. And he says that to us to say, look, no matter what, there's all this stuff stirring around in our lives. Some of it is good, some of it's noble, but if there's anything at any time that's more important in our lives than the love that comes from God, well, we're not quite there yet. We're just not quite there yet. So we grow. So he invites us to go into that. And I think that's what we're asked to walk forward with in the coming week, right? To really do that self-examination. What in my life do I really spend my waking nights tossing and turning about? What are the fears I have? What are the anxieties? What are the things that are really causing me stress and concern, that are distracting me or taking my attention away from the love that is God? It's a great message to get on this particular weekend as we sort of turn this corner from summer into autumn. And we're reminded of the words of Rumi, to be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop. Be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop. So we ask ourselves, what are the things? What are the things that we're holding on, we're clinging to? We pray to God to release us from these anxieties, release us from these stresses, release us from these preoccupations with pride and self-image and superiority complexes and this need to feel like we're better than other people or whatever it might be. We pray to God to deliver us from all these false gods, but it's really hard for God to, free us from things we're clinging to. So be like the tree and let the dead leaves drop. Let go. Let go of all that stuff and let it happen. Because when we empty ourselves out, when we empty ourselves out and we just free ourselves, we find peace. There's a branch of spirituality, right, that really teaches that we cannot grow by adding more in our lives. We can only grow by subtraction, by letting go and emptying out and letting go of everything until all that's left is love, God's love. And that's where we find peace. That's where we find joy. That's where we find really true holy communion with God, with each other. So that's the wish for this week, right? May the peace and the joy of Christ's love rain down upon you. May the peace and the joy of Christ's love stir the heart within you. And may the peace and the joy of Christ's love flow forth from you. Peace be with you.